Hello, and thank you for joining me for a training on ShelterPoint. This training is intended to provide you with the information that you'll need to successfully complete the HMIS portion of the 2016 point in time count. My name is Amanda Fox, and I work with the HMIS team, and we are from an organization called All Chicago. So let's start by reviewing our agenda. So we are going to just do an overview of the HMIS portion of the 2016 point in time count. We're going to do a few steps here to look at how you are going to empty your bed lists in ShelterPoint. And we're also going to go through the steps that you'll take to actually connect your clients to beds. And the last thing we're going to do is just show you how to create a list of your clients and their HMIS ID numbers in advance of the PIT. You're going to use Report Writer or a dashboard counts report to walk through those steps. And this is really intended just to save you some time so that you have a list ready to go. So you don't have to figure out who's in your facility when you're going to actually complete the sheltered part of the PIT that will be done through HMIS. So let's just look at that overview to start. And we are going to have that HMIS portion this year of the PIT, but this will be in addition to the forms that you will fill out for DFSS. And you will be hearing more about that from DFSS very soon. But we do want to accomplish getting our sheltered clients on the night of the PIT into beds using ShelterPoint. So let's start off by looking at how ShelterPoint works. ShelterPoint does have its own menu option when you log into the system. So you will start by clicking directly on its tab. Once you do that, you'll bring up this shelter inventory information screen where you'll set a provider and a unit list to start. So your provider, you see right there that it's set to All Chicago. That's going to be the agency name that it will default to. So we'll look at the next screen just to see how you work with that. But then those unit lists, those are something that will be new. Those really are just meant to be bed lists. And those are something that your ATAs work with the HMIS team to set up properly. But those lists should represent all the beds that you enter into HMIS for the clients that you serve. And some projects will even find that they have multiple unit lists to separate out different beds at their facility. So ATAs, just as a note for you here, on that provider dropdown, you will actually see a search function there where you'll search for the correct provider that you're going to work on. So these are things you can look at any time to review them, but let's look a little bit more closely at how these work. For the first here, that provider, you see there that I'm changing mine to be the program or the project as opposed to the agency name. So it's attached to the correct project that is actually the one that holds my sheltered clients. Then your unit list, you will see various things listed there. If you have any questions, you might want to ask your ATA or your supervisor if there's more than one. But if there's only one unit list there, go and choose that one and click on Submit. Once you do that, I'll see what the full screen looks like here. Here's the full list of options on your ShelterPoint dashboard. We are going to actually go through the steps of using the update confirmation list, the transmit today's checkout list, and those will accomplish removing clients from beds to start. And then we're going to go to the express check-in list or option here, but we're actually going to get to all three of those through this view all option. So start off from here by clicking on view all, and let's see what that gets us. So when you do click on the view all screen, you are going to see this full list of the available beds in that unit list. And so what you have in front of you is a bed list that has 3 clients that's currently attached to beds. They're attached to beds 1, 2, and 3 here. Then you see that there are empty beds, and this list will keep going on for as many beds as are available in that unit list. The green plus sign over here indicates an empty bed. The red minus sign indicates a filled bed. So we're going to start by emptying these beds to prepare for the PIT. And I'm going to do so by starting off by clicking on this update confirmation list directly within this screen. Once I click on that button, another window will pop open where I'll see a list of all 3 of those clients that we just saw that were checked into beds. I'm going to start off by focusing on that column that says confirm, and I'm going to click on a button that says clear to uncheck all of those boxes at one time. Once I've done that, I'm going to click on a button that says confirm. That will open up a little window where I'll say okay, And once I say okay to that little confirmation window that pops open, I'll be brought back to my shelter inventory information screen, and I'll be able to move forward with my next step. We're going to look first at a screenshot of what that full screen looks like, but just keep in mind that if your bed list is already empty, you're not going to have to go through updating a confirmation list or checking anyone out of beds. So you won't necessarily do this if your bed list is empty. But let's see, for those that do need it, what that screen looks like. So here's that screen. I've already clicked on that clear button as well as that confirm button. All of those boxes are unchecked, which is what we want. I say okay to this successfully confirmed little window that opens up. Once I do that, it will bring me right back to that full list of those clients' beds. But then I want to find that button for transmit today's checkout list. So that will let me complete the process of taking these clients out of beds. So let's see how that window works. This is a list of what that little menu option looks like from that shelter inventory information screen. These options are actually found all the way at the bottom of that shelter inventory information screen. So you will have to scroll all the way down, but let's see what that button, where it takes you. So this is the little window that's going to pop open that will help you complete checking these clients out of beds. You do have the ability at the top of the screen here to change the checkout date, which by clicking set date, that will change all of these subsequent dates. You would then click on this check all button, and that would populate all three of these boxes, or however many boxes you have for clients in beds. Just as a note, you don't have to change this checkout date. It will default to be right now for whatever date and time you're doing this in. Just something to be aware of how that works. But once you have completed clicking this check all button and you're comfortable with the date that will be associated with their checkout, you'll just go ahead and click on this checkout button down here, and that will complete removing these clients from beds. So let's see what the steps will be next. So the next thing we want to do is actually start putting our clients into beds. And so this will be something that we'll want to do on the night of the pit. So we put all the clients into beds who are actually staying at your facility on that particular night. And we do want to include the children, so we have an accurate count here. You can get to that express check-in again just from two different ways. You'll see the Start Express Check-in button in that View All screen, but you'll also be able to get to it from this button that you'd find on that ShelterPoint dashboard. Let's look at what that Start Express Check-in will get you. And it will get you this, actually just a client search screen is what you'll see. But if you scroll all the way to the top of that window, you'll also see that you're in Express Check-in and that there is an entry date for the units that you're going to be checking clients into that night. So you do just want to scroll up and make sure that you have the right date in your date in field, but it is going to populate to be right now. So it should be the date and time that you need it to be. But you can always change that if you need to for any reason. You will have the three different possibilities for ways to search for your clients to connect them to beds. You can do so by their name, searching just by name, their HMIS ID number, or you have the option to use barcode scanners and scan client ID cards. And if you choose that option, you just want to make sure your cursor's in the actual client ID field. So let's look at that screen. Here's your client search screen that should be very familiar. If you do search for your client by their first and last name, you will just have to deal with the client results and click on that green plus sign for the appropriate record that represents your client, and that will put them directly into a bed once you click on the green plus sign from the Express Check-in screen. But if you click on client ID, or if you search by client ID and click submit, that will automatically put them into beds, as well as scanning your client's ID card. You won't have to click on any green plus signs if you do that either. But let's see what the bottom half of this screen looks like, because that's just the search part of the screen. The bottom half is where you get your confirmation. So the bottom half of the screen in Express Check-in will show you this Express Check-in list at the very bottom, which will be your confirmation that that client was successfully just entered into a bed once their name appears down there. There is the possibility that you'll get some alert windows that will pop open as you connect clients to beds, And that's just something that's informational. You can read the alert window, the message in it, and then go ahead and click continue to complete checking that client into a bed. And once you've done that step for one client, you just go right back up to the search area and you start looking for your next client. This is all something that you're meant to be able to do client after client, all within the same screen, to very quickly connect them all to beds on the night of the pit. So let's see an example of what this looks like when some data is populated. So this is an example of a client that has been successfully connected to a bed through Express Check-in. You can see that the client has been attached to bed 006. So that is confirmation that this client was attached to a bed. But if I do click on that Submit List button, I'll most likely get that little alert message off to the left there that just tells me this client's already checked in. Nothing was updated. And if you see that little alert window, you just say OK. And if you are finished putting your clients into beds, the way that you'll get out of this screen is just by clicking on Exit. So let's see the next screen here. We actually, if you choose to go and confirm the list of clients that were just placed into beds using Express Check-in, you have two options. If you've gone through to get to Express Check-in by using that from that View All screen to start Express Check-in, you may find yourself right back at that full list of clients in beds, so you'll have that confirmation right away. But if you choose, if you don't find yourself there, you can also click on that View All button again after finishing Express Check-in, and you'll be able to see all of the clients that have been attached to beds as a confirmation. I want to switch now to actually seeing how this works directly in ServicePoint. So we're just going to switch over to the internet and to look at ServicePoint. So here we are at our home screen in ServicePoint. I'm going to go over here to ShelterPoint to start. This is my provider, my unit list questions that I have to answer, my drop-down lists. I'm going to change that all Chicago to my emergency shelter I was working on. The system seems to already know the unit list that I wanted, but if I needed to select it, I would just select it here and click Submit, because this is the dashboard that I want to make sure opens for me. This is also where HCAs will see a search function for this provider area. You will just have to search for the correct provider at this step. But the parts of the system we're going to use for the PIT are Express Check-in, Update Confirmation List, and Transmit Today's Checkout List. And as we just talked about, we can get to all three of these through View All. So I'm going to start by clicking here. What I immediately realize is that I have 3 clients already in beds, and I want to start by actually removing these clients from beds to prepare myself for the PIT. I also see all the open empty beds that I have. I have these green plus signs that tell me these are empty beds, and these red minus signs that tell me that these are actually beds that are filled right now. So let's scroll down here and see how many beds we've got and what options we've got down here. There's all my beds, my 99 beds. And here's that Start Express Check-in button, and we're going to come back and use that once we've finished this 2 steps here of removing these clients from beds. So I'm going to start by clicking on this Update Confirmation List. Here's all my clients with their check boxes. I'm going to click on that Clear button to uncheck those boxes. Clicking on Confirm now will bring about this little confirmation message, and I'll say OK. It brings me back to this screen, and I can immediately move to transmitting today's checkout list. Once I do this, I have the ability up here if I want to change the date and click Set Date. But really all I have to do is click Check All to make sure all 3 of these boxes are checked off, and then click Check Out to remove these clients from beds. So if I scroll back up here just to confirm for myself, I now have beds 1, 2, and 3 as empty. So that's where I want to start. And now, really what I want to do next is start putting clients into beds. So I just scroll down and start by clicking on this Start Express Check-in. Here's that search area that we were just looking at. I'm already with my cursor in my client ID field. So if I'm someone that uses barcode scanners, I would be ready to start scanning client ID cards as my clients are entering my facility. But if I'm not going to be doing that, I do have, just as a note here, here's that date in field. I had to scroll up to see this. It does populate to be today and right now. So that's something that can be manipulated if it needs to be. But if that's all good, I come on down here and I can start searching for my clients by names, or if I have a list of my clients and their HMIS ID numbers handy, I'd be able to just start plugging in HMIS ID numbers here and clicking submit. And what I want to see happen is all of my clients' names appear down here to confirm that they have been put into a bed. So let's see what that looks like. So I start by searching for my client by name. I click enter. I get a result that opens up. Here's that search area. The result opens up beneath it. Here's that green plus sign. Once I click on this, system processes, I see any incidents in the system for this client, and then I have my client's name appear down here in my express check-in list. This is my confirmation that this client was just successfully put into a bed. They've been assigned bed 001. If I choose to click submit list at this point, I will just get this little alert window that confirms for me that this client is already in a bed. So I would just say okay here. I could come back up if I want to put another client into a bed, search for their name or plug in their ID number. And once I click enter, here's an example of what it might look like if you do come upon duplicates. This is where it could be helpful if you did have your client ID numbers listed for you. But in this case, we just want to go ahead and show an example of how this works. So I'm going to click again on that green plus sign. Here's a little alert window that's letting me know that this is my client's first day here, but that's okay. So I just say continue because I do want to get them down here and get checked into a bed. So this is really my confirmation again that this is successful, and all I would do is continue coming back up, either searching for my clients, putting in their ID number, and just keep moving to get my clients down here in this confirmation area. Once I'm done putting all of my clients into beds, I can just come over here and click exit. And because I accessed the Express check-in from this screen by clicking down here, I'm brought right back to the same screen. And as I scroll up, I can see that those two clients that I just put into beds are right here. So those are the steps that you'll take on the night of the pit to successfully connect your clients to beds. And once you're done at this point, and you get to this point, you are actually done with what you need to do in HMIS. At this point, I do want to show you a couple of options that you have for actually producing a list of your clients' names and their ID numbers based on client entry records. So we want to be able to produce a list of all those clients that have an active entry on the night of the pit so that you can have your HMIS ID numbers handy. So I'm going to start by coming over to the home screen because I want to show you how to actually create this counts report here on your dashboard. This is what we're going to set up as a clients with an entry but no exit counts report on your homepage dashboard. And I'm going to show you how to do this from step one. So I'm going to go down here to my customize homepage dashboard area. Once I expand this, I'm just going to remove this from here right now because I want to show you how to set it up without having it here at all, because this is what your screen might look like if you don't have a counts report set up. I'm going to expand this little customize homepage dashboard area again, click on this add counts report. That produces that little quadrant of 4 areas where I could have little reports running for me. To set up a report, I'm going to come in here to this little pencil. I have this top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right areas to set my 4 different reports if I choose to. We're just going to focus on top left so we can set up a clients with an entry but no exit report. I'm going to click on this little select area. I'm going to go here to my clients with an entry but no exit report type. That pulls about my filters. With my filter, I do need to change this select dates to all dates to make sure I pull in anyone with an active entry. Then I need to change my provider type. I don't want it to be system-wide. I want it to be set to provider. And once I get here, I'll select the program that has the sheltered clients that I want to produce a list of. Then I just say OK. And what should happen is the system processes for a minute. And then once it's done, a little number will be produced there for me. And this is going to be a link. So once I click on this little blue number, this window is going to pop open with my count detail. And what this will provide for me is a full list of these client ID numbers and those clients' names and some other identifying information. But really the purpose of producing this list is you can download it. So there is this little download full report button here. If I were to click on any of these blue link buttons right here, or these blue numbers, those would be links to my actual client's ID or their record in the system. So what I would recommend is just clicking on download full report at this point. So you can save this file as Excel if you choose to save it, or print it, whatever works best for you, so that you have a list available when you go to enter clients into beds on the night of the PIT. So that's your first option. And I am going to go ahead and click this little save button so I have that report saved there for me, and I can collapse this little customized homepage dashboard area again. Now I want to show you your second option, which is actually coming over to reports and setting up a report writer report that would basically get us to the same end goal that we just got to with setting up accounts report. So if I choose to go this way, I would click on reports and I would come down here to report writer. Once I click on Report Writer, I will see a full list of all of the saved reports that I have access to. But I don't want to use a saved report. I actually want to come down here and click on New Report. So once I open up a new report window, I'll have all of these different tabs available to me. I need to start with Tables. And from the Tables area, I'm going to choose two different tables. I want to choose Clients at this point and Entry Exits. Once I've made those two selections, for the purposes of the list that we're trying to produce, all I need to do is come back up and now move to Fields. So once I move over to Fields here, I want to set up the particular fields from those two tables that I want to pull into this particular report. And the fields that I'm going to need from the Clients table are Client ID, first name, and last name for those clients. From this entry exit options, I want to choose my entry date. And if I scroll down here, I also want to choose my exit date. So once those five options are selected, I do want to move over to this filters tab. You'll see that there are two filters already set. So I'm going to set two more filters. One of those filters is going to control which project clients are pulled into this report from. So I'm actually going to set up a filter to say that I only want a particular project's clients to pull in. And then the other filter I'm going to set up is going to control so that the report only pulls in those clients that have an entry but don't have an exit, so that I only see the clients with an active entry. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on Add a New Filter Group. I'm going to leave these two filters as they are because those are important to keep there. So if I start by clicking on Add New Filter Group, I do get another area with filters. And the first thing I'm going to do is click on Add Filter. Once I do this, I want to set the table. I have to set these three options here, and I want to set the table to be entry exits. Once I've done that, I want to set my field to be set to provider so that I can set the filter to tell the system exactly which provider I want this data to pull in clients from. So once I expand this field list, I scroll down here and I just find provider. Not provider creating or updating, just the one plain word provider. I'm going to leave the filter on equals, and I'm going to come over here to my search button so that I can choose a provider. So now a little window opens for me and allows me to search for that provider by its name, or the easier option, if you have that ID number for the provider, you can just plug it in right here, click submit, and then you'll get that one record that represents the project with the sheltered clients that you want to produce a list of. I'm going to click on this green plus sign now. I get that filter set to be the correct provider, and then I just say save. So now I have my first filter set up, and I click on Add Filter to set my second filter. Again, for table, I want to make this entry exits. For the field, I'm actually going to set this to be on the exit date this time, because I want my exit date for all of the clients that are pulled in to be null. So for the actual filter, I'm going to change it from equals to represent the option for is null, because I want to pull in only those clients that have no exit date. Once I click save, Now you'll see that I have a filter set up so that I'm only pulling in clients that have an entry with the All Chicago Emergency Shelter Project, and it will only be those clients that have no exit date. So now I'm ready to move over to preview. I don't have to go to counting, but that's there if you want to check it out. Really where I want to go next is preview. When I get to preview, what I'm going to have is that list of my client ID numbers, their first name, their last name, their entry date, and the exit date, which you would expect to be blank because of the filter we put on. This is where I would come to download this full report, and I would kick this out to Excel so I can save the file or just print it, whatever works for you, so that you have this list available when you go to enter clients into beds on the night of the pit. So if you choose to save this report, you would come over to options and you'd give it a name and then you'd save the report. But there's no need if you already have what you need right here. You would just download and then you would exit from this screen. So those are really all the steps we wanted to cover with the training today. So at this point, if you, and this is actually some slides that you'll have available to actually walk you through those steps that we just took of generating that list of clients from a dashboard counts report or report writer. So just as a quick review here, these are the screens that you'll walk through, adding the report, and then moving on to clicking on the pencil, choosing from that top left quadrant the clients with an entry but no exit, setting those filters properly so you have the date, the provider type, and the exact provider set up. And then you'll see that number there with that represents the clients, which you can click on to download that full report. So again, this is just for reference for you if you need additional detail. There's also going to be here for you the option of doing this in Report Writer to show you how to go from Report Writer to adding a new report. Those are the different tabs listed down here that we just touched. And as you move forward, you'll see that you want to select that client and entry exit tables. From the Fields tab, you'll do the client ID, the first name, the last name, the entry date, the exit date on the entry exit table. And once I move forward, you'll also be setting those filters here so that you only pull in those clients that are attached to the correct project. Move down here and you'll see that you are choosing provider. We just walked through these steps, so I'm going to move forward. You'll see that you're also going to set that second filter, just confirmation, get to your two filters, making sure not to delete any of those existing filters. And that's really it. That's all you have to do to get to the point where you can produce this downloadable list of your clients and their IDs. So here's all the information that you'll need, and we'll make these slides and everything available to you. But as a wrap up here, the idea here is that you do want to put your clients into beds in HMIS, and this will not take the place of the DFSS forms that will be filled out on the night of the pit. We will actually be completing both steps on the night of January 26th. And if you have any questions, you have my contact information here. My name is Amanda Fox. I work with All Chicago. You can open HMIS help desk tickets by emailing us at hmis@allchicago.org. And there you have listed at the bottom there the help desk URL if you wanted to go directly to our website. Thank you again for joining me, and we will be communicating more with you as we get closer to the actual night of the pit. Have a great rest of your day.